Hi, team. Welcome to the Escape Podcast for Star Wars The Old Republic. Coming up, another quick tips show. But first, some game news and some AIE Guild news. Our broadcast astromech today is EPC 158. Hey, 158, finish your fried rice and get in the escape pod. And, buddy, you're making a mess of it anyway with those chopsticks. Use the forks, 158. Use the
Oh my
forks.
God.
So that one I will blame on Tetsemi, who's another officer in
Yeah.
AIE who does the AIE podcast as well. He sent that one in, so credit goes to Tetsemi for that one. With me as
I
always,
totally wondered. Sorry, I wondered where that was going when you said fried rice. I'm like, what?
well, I tried to twist it and set it up. With me as
Yes.
always is
Good.
Seema. Hi, Seema. How's it going?
Hi, Max. I shouldn't start talking before I say hi, but anyway, hi. It's going pretty well. I actually got a lot done this week on my DVL stuff. I finished chapter 9, so now I have two more pieces of the XP gear, so I have five. So that gave me permission, my personal permission, to go play on a lower level character for a while. So I started playing with my Sage. So I did some uh, FPs, some flashpoints, and some weekly heroics on her, and actually got her up to like I don't know, like mid 30s, really high. Um, but then I thought, oh, I'm gonna do a commando because then I can use my raiding gear that I have on my Merc. But now that I have that idea, I might kill her off because I thought, nah, just do another Merc because then we can do hard modes on the imp side. Anyway. So that's my plan. So, yes, DVL. And actually, where are we on the DVL? I'll look. But yep, that was good. And then on in Mandatory Fun Night tonight, we did some DVL stuff. We did an ops boss. We killed Commander Draxus in Dread Fortress, and then we went and killed off a couple of world bosses, starting with the Ziost world boss. So that was good for a lot of people.
Yep.
And yeah, that Dread Fortress thing was fun because I know that fight, that Draxus fight, so well because of having done it like 7 or 8 thousand times. Even though I've always healed it, it was just interesting to do it as, while playing a DPS role because I wasn't pressured and trying to remember the fight. And so I could just, I don't know, fly around doing things,
Yeah.
interrupting corruptors and keeping despoilers from healing, although the despoiler never even tried to heal, so I don't know about that. Maybe that's a story mode thing. But anyway, yeah, it was fun. I had a good time tonight in MFN, as usual.
Yeah, story mode is really nerfed these days. So there's
Yeah.
no shields, the despoiler doesn't heal, the dogs don't blow up. It was actually sort of
It was low
disappointing.
stress for me. I know it wasn't low stress for everyone.
No, it
Because
wasn't
the people
bad.
that were healing that don't normally heal, they had a little bit of a stress
But after
there.
I told all the mercs to heal themselves, that even the healing the second time was not bad.
Yes.
It
I should
worked
have
quite
told the
well.
healers in the beginning, it's like, just as a guideline, never cleanse a merc. I mean, never cleanse a merc. Yeah, never cleanse a merc. They can cleanse themselves.
Exactly.
If they don't notice that they're dying, that's not your fault.
So what did I
There,
do
the
this week?
philosophy of Korean.
Uh,
What did you do this week?
because I hear you asking in my head. I
Your head canon is asking.
I created all the rest of my DVL characters, the six other classes. I think I had four of them created. I created the other four. I actually purchased with cartel coins two character slots, I think, and I deleted a couple other old non-leveled up characters that I didn't want anyway, and re-rolled them. So now I have all of them created. They're all at least to level 10, so I can shuffle the bonus legacy gear around. And I leveled an assassin from 1 to 30, 31 this weekend. And I've got a guardian that's in the 20s, and then the other four are at just above level 10. Next, I'm going to get them all to get a ship because that's sort of the next tier of stuff. But with that, there's not a lot. But let's talk a little bit about some news.
Now, an Imperial News Network report.
So first up, there was an update. They seem to do this towards the end of the week, Thursday, Friday. There was an update to the percentages, and it's continuing to slide towards the light side. Someone was saying statistical analysis. I didn't. I get it from an election perspective that as you start to shift to a winning side throughout an election cycle, as votes are being cast, the outcome becomes inevitable. But that's because you also have a diminishing return on the number of votes available to even be swinging it back and forth at that point, and the statistical validity of how many votes have already been cast becomes more and more certain. So it doesn't really apply as specifically in this case because you can vote an infinite number of times practically. Anyway, it still seems pretty inevitable. It's going to be light side. So light side 52.31%, dork side is 47.69%, and it's continuing to slide toward the light side just by little bits, hundredths, tenths, and hundredths of a percent. But I don't foresee it going dork side by the end. Do you, Seema?
No, no, like they're going to come from behind. Yeah, I agree with you. It's too hard to make a shift after a certain point,
Yeah.
and they're 5% between them. Yeah, that would be hard.
So there is that. That means that anybody who's so I think you need to get champion level to get the companion. So you do want to keep an eye out on that. You don't have to get legendary level, but do you have to get eternal? I think you have to get either champion or eternal level to get the companion as a reward for dark versus light. You don't have to get legendary. I think you might need to get eternal level though, so you'll have to keep an eye on that. Make sure you get that tier if you do want that companion, which at this point looks like it's going to be the Chiss Jedi, which is cool.
Yeah, eternal level is what you need to get the companion,
There we go. What else we got?
which is that's going to be, if you get that far, kudos, because that's still doing quite a bit.
Yeah, that's 2 characters to 65, so that's significant.
So next week also we're going to get the bonus HK chapter. So we've been looking forward to that. Um, I guess there's some also minor game updates coming with that, but I actually haven't read about what those would be, so I cannot share that.
There's
I know,
two
embarrassing.
there's two bugs that have been outstanding that people have been waiting for them to fix. One was that thing that we talked about last week or the week before, that the ancient threat is
In
standing
Yavapur.
around, and who's the companion you can't get. I forgot. One of the companions is blocked because the ancient threat
The
comes in.
archaeologist dude.
Yeah. So we couldn't get him because he was blocked by the ancient threat. So you'll be able to finish that off and get him, and then the other one, Talos. So you couldn't get Talos.
Talos, yes, yes.
And then the other thing was Manan. So in theory, there was a display issue where Manan was just not displaying. If you look in the list in Legendary, Manan doesn't even show up in the hard mode list anymore. And
Right.
that's potentially the display issue. But there's other issues with Manan. I hope it's fixed. I don't know if it is or it's going to be. We ran Manan hard mode with DVL characters this past week, and no one got credit for killing the last boss. We did
Right.
we did not get credit for killing the boss. We did not get credit for DVL of completing Manan. Manan isn't even in the list. So here it says missing details data. That's what people are thinking that Manan is supposed to be. But so we finished it.
Right.
It still says 0 of 1 missing details data. So maybe I hope that goes to 1 of 1. But when I looked at just the regular achievements for Manan, I did not get. I got all the other bosses of that night incremented by 1, which because I had done it hard mode before, except for the last boss. So I'm going to be not looking forward to having to run that again. Of course, we made you switch over to your healer, your non-DVL healer, to
Right.
help us get
And we can always
finished
do
that.
that. Yes, it's just we need.
So we did need to run it again anyway. So there's that.
That's yeah. Well, that's true. So we're gonna run it again anyway. So it doesn't matter if you got credit.
Correct. That's true. I'll quit my crying. Running it for SEMA regardless.
But
Looking
we do
forward
hope
to
that
it.
it gets fixed so that the next time we run it, it actually counts.
Speaking of the bonus chapter for HK, for those of us that will be getting it, we do have something to look forward to. We didn't get a lot of news elsewhere, but Hall Hood who's lead writer. Is he the lead writer, a writer, lead writer? I think he's the lead writer. He posted threw out a tweet. I think it was yesterday, day before, that said, "Inspirations for the HK bonus chapter: '70s Bond villains, '80s buddy cops, Iron Giant, Total Recall, the original, and Finding Nemo, not a typo."
That's my favorite part, the not a typo.
So little funny thing there on his inspirations for some of the writing that went into that HK chapter. I'm looking forward to seeing what it is. If you weren't lucky enough to get the sub all the way through and get it, I'm sure there'll be plenty of videos of the full walkthrough of the content. That'll be just almost as fun as just going it through it that way. So everybody will at least get to see that. In guild and community news, especially community news, two things I wanted to call out. One was, so SWTOR is continuing to put on her YouTube channel the Academy videos. Those are great. I look forward to getting those every time she puts them out. They're really popular. They're really well done. But she said this week she was going to do some goofy, surprise, silly video, which she did. And it's a 10-minute dance video with music behind it and her dancing in front of various things. That's just, I couldn't look away. So I watched the whole 10-minute thing just
her.
straight up with my jaw slightly dropped, and it's mesmerizing. So there's that. I meant to post in her Reddit thread and tell her it was mesmerizing. So go check that out. The other thing I noticed, I was looking around for other tips and things. The server forums, so the official forums, they have a section for the servers, and you can go look up on your server. Those servers are only mostly dead, those server forums, but they're not completely dead. And in fact, there's a couple good threads in those server forums that you may want to check out for your server, especially in regard to Dark v Light. On multiple servers, I noticed there are threads where groups are being put together to go do hard mode flashpoints and to go do the operations bosses in particular. So if you are looking for people to go run those with on your server, go check out those forums, go post in there, get a group together. It sounds like you should be able to do that.
You must be looking at me right now.
And
Oh yes,
Seema.
okay, so sorry, I was reading ahead. Um, so Monday nights, our team on Monday nights, which is Soldiers of Light, and it's a pub ops team. Max and I both wanted to do a shout out to Corley and Dent. Corley was leading the team, and he recently turned it over to Dent. And I just want to say both those guys have been doing a fantastic job, and they had a really smooth transition. We didn't have any downtime in between, and we had a really good raid this week. And kudos to both of you.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been great to have a couple new leaders step up into running an ops group. I'm really happy we've continued to have an ops presence on the Republic side. People seem to really like to have the opportunity, at least, to get their Republic characters to get some exercise. So, good job, guys. Corley, Dent, thanks for keeping that going. And as always, Seema.
And then always, you can do it this week.
All right, as always, come join AIE. We want to have you in the guild. That's why we do the podcast. Our guild information can be found on aie-guild.org. You can catch the officers in game with a /cjoin AIE LFO on Jedi Covenant. We've got Discord up and running now with a bunch of chatter going on across all the games. I guess there was some other MMO that had a little bit of a content update of some kind today, from what I heard.
I don't know what you could be referring to.
But even with that, we had a pretty big crowd in our mandatory fun night tonight. And we're always starting to chat more and more in Discord throughout the day. I've got it on my mobile device, and that's fun too. So come join us. And also, shout out to the chat room. Thank you guys. You guys are helping us out before the show, making sure everything sounds good, answering our questions, checking in. And we will catch up with you after the show. And with that, I think we have many, many tips. In fact, our tips are legion.
My pets are legion. Behold.
No, Bestia, our tips. Our tips are our tips are legion. So tips. Something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue. We're going to do that again this week. 4 tips, quick tips we're going to run through. Something old, I will kick it off. And this is a good one. This is a good one for anybody that is in, especially that does group content, especially if you're doing harder content. We used to do this all the time. And what I'm talking about is target of target and target of focus. And your target, and your target's target, and your focus target's target. So let me break this down real quick. Everybody gets that you have your target, right? You have something that you're targeting. So if I come here and on my screen, if I target Seema, I see Seema as my target, and if it's a friendly player, you can heal them. If it's an enemy of some kind, a boss or another mob, you can damage them. That's what you're casting your targets on. Your target always has a target as well. You can set up a keybind to switch to the target of your target, and that's interesting and useful in a lot of situations. One thing that healers will often do is have a keybind for getting the target of my target, and they can then click on the boss and say switch to target of target, and it'll switch to whatever tank the boss is currently focused on. Okay, so they could throw out a heal really quick to that tank. There's something else that's quite useful as well, and that's called focus target. You can do a keybind to set your focus as well, your focus target. And what that gives you is an extra target window that sits sort of off to the side, and you can go into the interface editor and put this wherever you want. And that one is sticky. So so you see here, I set Seema as my focus target. Seema shows up there. I can set something else to my target, and it'll show up as my target, and Seema sticks as the focus target. So if I set a boss as the focus target, sometimes I'll do this for the 2 Drooks in the beginning of Explosive Conflict, Toth and Zorn. I'll be DPSing Toth. I'll set Zorn as my focus target, so I can keep an eye on Zorn's health while I'm DPSing Toth, and I can have them both up on my screen. So that's.
I use this a lot when I'm healing too. I put the boss on focus, and then I put the boss's cast bar somewhere where it's really easy for me to see. So like, for instance, in the Corruptor Zero fight, I always know when he's casting that concussion mine.
Yeah.
Because I see it close to where my eyeballs look. Like I have it over by the raid frames.
So you can see a cast bar for them, and then you can also see their target. So here's where it gets.
You can't see you can switch to the focus's target, but you can't see it.
Or you can't see, yeah, I guess you can't see you could switch to their target.
That would be nice if you could.
You're right, right. So here I can see my target's target. You can set that window and move it around as you want. And I've got my focus. But here's a really tricky thing that we used to do a lot when we were doing sort of harder mode progression stuff, especially to just get through trash quickly. We'd have a main tank, and we'd have a focus tank. So one of our tanks would be the tank who would be beating on the trash mob that we all should be focusing down to get them down quickly. And this is in some of the content when trash used to be hard. This still works in fights where you have multiple adds. Say you've got Draxus, and you're working on a harder version of Draxus, and you've got adds on each side, and you want everybody to focus on whichever add the tank is focusing on. We used to always set the tank as our focus target as DPS, and then keybind, and I keybound it to one of my extra mouse buttons. So I always had this button bound to target of focus. And what that allowed me to do is always have the tank on focus and just slam that button. And anytime I slam that button, I get whatever target the tank that I had as my focus is targeting. So that was great. I never had to really it was sort of easy mode as a DPS. I barely had to worry about where I'm supposed to be shooting. I'm just focusing on my rotation, pew, 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 laser beam, 4, 4, 4, 4. And I just keep slamming that focus button,
4, 4, 4, 4.
that focus target button, and switching to whatever the current target is that the focus tank is going after. That can be really useful. It can be useful if you need to be switching targets at various times during the fight, and you've got maybe a lead DPS who is picking the target that all the DPS should be following. Then everybody puts that DPS on focus. But this is something you want to sort of get used to and use to your best advantage in these situations. So again, in your interface, you're turning on focus, you're key binding a key binding to focus target, and then you're also key binding to a key bind to get the target of your focus. Does that all make sense?
Yes, it does make sense.
All right. Give me something new, Seema.
Something new. So we're going to talk about the types of XP boosts that you can get. There's basically, I mean, because if you're out there trying to level your DVL characters, there's five different sources or ways or types of experience boosts that you can get. The first type are the XP boosts that you can get from the cartel market or from the GTN, and they also come as mission rewards. That's regular, just XP boosts. There's also legacy perks that you can buy on your legacy panel. They're for like they increase your XP for like class quests or flash points or exploration or space missions. I mean, I was just looking at mine, and I actually have the space mission one maxed out, which tells you how old this character is, really. Because I actually did used to do space missions as part of my leveling back in the day. There's also the gear that you get from DVL event, which can give you up to 50% XP if you have all 7 pieces. Um, yeah, I have personally I have 5 pieces, which means I think I'm up to 40% XP boost. And then the fourth way is to accumulate rested XP, which you do by making sure that you log out in a rest area like in your stronghold, in the fleet, in a cantina somewhere. You know these areas because when you walk into them, you get big red letters across the screen that say you are entering a rest zone. And when you leave it, it says you are leaving a rest zone. So cantinas are typically rest zones. What happens is as you accumulate rest XP, then when you go out in the world the next time, you get more XP for killing mobs, for instance, than you would if you didn't have any rested XP.
Yes.
And then the last thing is you join a guild. If the guild is large enough, then there's a XP bonus of 10% just from being in the guild. So all these things together, they add up. If you go to the GTN to buy XP boosts, make sure you're buying the ones that are for generic XP and not the ones that are for Warzone XP or GSF XP, unless those are the ones you want, of course. The way I search for them on the GTN, if I'm going to buy them there, is I'll put in the search parameter little window, I'll put major experience boost, because I find in general the major ones are a better deal than buying 3 minors. So the major one, but by that search, all the types are going to come up, the space type and the Warzone type and everything. But you don't want to buy those. So then I will then sort by the price, and then I'll scroll through eyeballing the icons and just wait for the first a major experience boost to come up, and then I know that's the cheapest one, and then that's the one I buy.
Hey, did the game just crash? I just got disconnected.
Not for me.
That's weird. Well, I'll show other things
I
while
guess it's going to if it crashed for you.
Did anybody else get knocked
I
out of the
see
server?
you.
Am I still there?
Yeah, your character's still here. Oh, Arky got DC'd as well.
Weird. Well, that's okay. We can show these last couple things, which I wanted to show anyway. On to something borrowed, and the place that I'm borrowing a tip from this week, I've found, and I'm sure we're going to borrow more in the future, is a very cool, a cool site in general. SWTOR Central. They do a good job with guides and gameplay. And SWTOR Central, this guy put up a video of, he did a few videos before and merged them all into one overall 10-minute, pretty concise 11-minute video called Star Wars Old Republic Top 50 Tips and Tricks. So cracks through 50 tips and tricks in 10 minutes. A lot of the kinds of things not in the detail that we're going through, but a quick tip with a little in-game view of of what that tip looks like, and it's a great it's a great run through. So I recommend it. I'll try to keep that link out there somewhere. You can just look it up on YouTube. SWTOR Central. The tip I really liked that we're borrowing for this week is he was counting down from 50. I watched all the way through, and number 4 really got me. The deal with number 4 is that apparently BioWare gives everyone, and if you haven't used it, you probably have got it there in your account, 1 free character rename per account. So if you go to your account tab and you look on, so you go to SWTOR.com, you look at your account page, you scroll down. That looks like the account page is down too, but you scroll down to the character rename down the left side on your account page. It will allow you, if you've got that free rename available, to pick a server and a character to get that character rename sent to you as an in-game item. So great. I didn't even realize I had it. I went and looked on my account page. I still do have it, so I guess I could rename one of my characters. They're all named Max, so I don't know what else I'd rename them to, though. So I guess I don't really need that. But
Well, if somebody gives up the name Max without
right.
3 H's and 2 Z's in it, then you can make a new Max.
Oh, so this allows me to tell my story again, my angsty story. I was early access beta, I was in the beta, so I got early access. So I was in early access after the servers came up. For whatever reason, I was like 15 minutes late getting on the servers. And in those 15 minutes on Keller's Void, both MAX and MAXX were already taken. I was angry. I'm still angry. 5 years later, I'm still angry. All right, Seema, give me something blue.
Something blue. Okay, so for blue, we're going to talk a little bit about dyes. So if you don't play with dyes much, then you may not know that you can put 1 dye in your chess piece, put it in the dye slot, and then hit Unify Colors, and it will actually apply that dye to all the pieces of gear that you're wearing that will take dye. Now, dyes they're consumable, so once you put them in and save that, that dye is used now. You can't take it out and use it again. It's if you want to dye another color, or if you want to take the dye out, it will just destroy that dye. So use your dyes carefully. You can preview with a dye to see if you like how it's going to affect your outfit. So there is that. Yeah. You can also mix and match dyes. Like I have a couple of outfits where I have a dye on the chest, and I use Unify chest to dye the whole thing, and then I'll like put a different dye on the legs, and then turn off the Unify chest feature just for the legs, so that the legs have their own dye. And where I've done that is where you have like a red black dye, and you like how it's doing on all your pieces, but the legs are like too much red and not enough black. So then you can get like a black red dye and put it on your legs, and then they look more black and less red, and then maybe that's what you were looking for. I mean blue. You wouldn't be doing red, you'd be doing blue, because this is a blue.
This is
This is a blue hint.
It fit. I was leveling up one of my new DVL characters, and I was on Hutta, and there was someone completely new to the game, and they started asking, how people getting these cool costumes, and so a couple people, I don't know, so somebody made fun of them in guild chat, but then everyone else started giving them really really good advice.
In guild chat? No,
I mean,
you mean
in general chat. Somebody started making fun of them in general chat, but everybody else then started chiming in and giving them really good advice. Sort of pro tip there: if you want general chat on any channel to be better, be the change you want to see. Once you start giving useful advice, other people sort of chime in, and it becomes a nice sort of useful place.
That's actually a tip all by itself right there.
There you go. Anyway, so I started explaining to this guy how the costume tabs work and how he can sort of stamp pieces in there. And he took a look and he said, "What does this Unify Colors thing mean?" And it gave me this idea that yes, it's not something you'd necessarily expect, and it's a good tip, because especially since dyes are consumable, if you get some cool looking dye like a black dye and you want your whole outfit to be black, you don't need to buy 7 of them or whatever. You just buy the one, put it on your chest piece in unified colors, and Bob's your uncle. So there you go. So there is our tips for this week. Our 158 droid is using the forks and done with his chopsticks. And we are done with another set of quick tips. Looking forward to next week. We'll have some new content to potentially talk about. We'll see if we're going to spoil it as early as Tuesday or if we'll wait a week to give you that. But we will have something for you on Tuesday night. So thanks to all of you for joining us tonight. Or this week on the download on newoverlords.com or iTunes or YouTube or live on Twitch. We will stream again, as I said, next Tuesday night on twitch.tv/newoverlords around 10:30 p.m. Central. Please follow us on Twitter at MaxTheGray and at AIESEMA. And certainly come find us on Jedi Covenant and ask us for an AIE Guild invite. We would love to have you, and we will talk to you soon.
Later, everyone.